Did you know that your $1,000,000 idea is just waiting to be uncovered? It is already in your brain. We just need to train your brain for creativity so that you can find it. And then most importantly, find it and take action. That is what we will be covering in today's video. And I can promise you the strategies you will find in this video is going to be unlike anything else you will find on YouTube, because we are talking about uncovering your ideas, increasing your dopamine levels, and really biohacking your brain from the point of view of a professional musician. I know from the last 20 years of mastering the cello that taking bold action, taking creative risks, and making decisions fast is one of the scariest things entrepreneurs have to do. And I know that I've trained my brain to do this from thousands of hours of performance. Now, I want to give you hope, because this is actually easier to learn, and you actually don't have to spend 20 years mastering an instrument to get there. So watch this video, and at the very end, take the action that I tell you, and you will start uncovering your $1,000,000 ideas. So as I mentioned, we will be biohacking your brain. And to do that, we will be using dopamine as our biohacking chemical or ingredient. So I'm going to start off by telling you these six things that I've learned in the last 6 years about dopamine so that we get on the same page. And then I'm going to define what is dopamine and how we can actually use it practically. You ready? Number 1, dopamine imbalance is found in the brains of people with ADHD. Very interesting. Number 2, scrolling produces dopamine, but it doesn't last. It makes you crave scrolling the rest of the day if you start your day with that. Number 3, dopamine in your brain means you feel motivated to take action. When dopamine levels are lowered, you feel unmotivated. And as Myron Golden says, the only reason why people do anything is because they feel like it. So what if there was a way we could increase your dopamine levels in a sustainable way so that you actually feel like doing the hard thing? Think about that. Number 4, dopamine is the chemical signature of creativity. That's from the book 10x is easier than 2x. He talks about how dopamine levels are elevated after we are in a focused creative session, but only if we reach the sense of flow state or kairos time. And you can watch my previous episodes to figure out what is kairos time, how we can really get into kairos time quickly. Number 5, when you have an idea, dopamine rises. It spikes because we are excited. You know that feeling when you're on a walk and you're like, oh, this is a brilliant idea. I must write it down now. You write it down, you get to your desk, and the spark is gone. Or you get a brilliant idea while you're working on something else, and then the excitement and that motivation you get from the dopamine that goes off from that idea makes you pivot and work on this other idea, and then you don't finish anything. We will be finding solutions for all of this. Number 6, dopamine can be increased by 9% in just 90 seconds. So those are the top 6 things, 6 principles that I've learned about dopamine in the last 6 years. And I want to paint a picture for you of what you might be doing right now. You wake up in the morning, you are bursting with ideas, and you're maybe a little overwhelmed by those ideas. So you grab your phone, you scroll for an hour, and you feel awful afterwards. You feel depleted. You feel like the energy has been drained from you. This is because you are going to be constantly craving to scroll the rest of the day in the same way that your body craves sugar if you start your day off with sugar. Your blood sugar rises and spikes, and there's like a roller coaster instead of a steady rolling hills like we would like our blood sugar to be. Dopamine works the same way. We don't want to overstimulate our brains. In fact, we want to feel like we're a little bit bored in the mornings. One of the top tips that I give my clients is to not touch their phones for the first 2 hours of the day. We can actually biohack our brains and use what the prefrontal cortex does during sleep to take action on our ideas quickly in the mornings. And the real value here is that we start the day knowing we've already created a deep impact. deep value. So before we continue, let's just define what is dopamine, because as you can tell, this is a word I'm going to be continuously using to help us really uncover our million-dollar ideas in this video. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter. And if you think about the word neural means the brain, transmitter means movement. So a neural transmitter is basically a transportation system for information from one part of your brain to another. Kind of like, think about a truck moving steel. Now remember this analogy, it's going to come up later. A neurotransmitter is something that moves information. Now dopamine specifically, because there's many different neurotransmitters, this one in particular makes us feel happy, and as I've mentioned before, it makes us feel motivated. It is very powerful when we use it in the right way. Now remember, the other thing that I mentioned in my list of 6 things is that dopamine is the chemical signature of creativity. In order to go from creative to creator, which is one of the purposes of the show, it requires high levels of focus. Now, if our dopamine levels are low, we're not going to be motivated to stay focused for an extended period of time. We're going to get distracted. There's actually a way we can get into flow state on purpose by elevating our dopamine levels. It's amazing once we figure this out. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story of when I took a risk that made me feel a lot like the risks that I take during performances. So it was January 3rd, just a couple months ago, January 3rd, 2025, and I actually had a day to myself. My amazing sister was watching my son for the day, got to go into the city. I did maybe 4 or 5 hours of coffee shop work sessions. It was delightful. And I was taking action quite a bit that day. Checking things off your to-do list also makes your dopamine go up. So on my drive home, I was just reflecting on the day. I was listening to a YouTube video by one of my favorite entrepreneurs, and I realized that something that they said I could help with. So want to know what I did? I sent a voice message to this person. Now they are an 8-figure entrepreneur, extremely successful. I think they have almost 1 million followers on YouTube. I sent a voice message with this idea that I had, and I secured a sales call for the following Monday. If I had not taken action in that moment, I would have still had that idea in my brain. It would have been taking up space. And by taking action on that idea, I built up this track record of success, a track record of action. Now, even if that call didn't pan out, or even if nothing even happened, if the person didn't even reply, I would still have had that track record. I would have had a closed loop. And closed loops is what creates new ideas, because there's room for new ideas. So we have to take action on our ideas in the right way, with the right systems, in order to even open up space for new ideas to form, for the $1 million ideas to be uncovered. Now let's contrast that with, let's say the whole day I spent it scrolling. Maybe I went to a bakery and I ate too much sugar, or I had too much caffeine, anything that really limited my dopamine levels, and I ended up feeling like trash by 3 p.m. Do you think that I would have sent that message off? Because when our dopamine levels decline, we don't feel like doing the hard thing. So this really is a hack to make you feel like doing the hard thing. It makes the hard thing feel easy when you have the right level of dopamine in your brain. So what if you could biohack your brain to feel like doing things more often? What would your business look like? What if you could make high quality decisions quickly and know that they're connected to your ultimate strategy, your GV, your grand vision? I know what you might be thinking at this point in the video. What if I take action and it was a bad decision? What if I didn't think it through enough and I made a mistake? I'm going to tell you the number one lesson that I've learned about business in the last 7 years of starting 3 different businesses. The number one lesson is this: decisions are only good decisions or bad decisions based on the decisions you make after you decide. To say that a little bit more succinctly, a decision is a decision. It's not good or bad either way. You can make it a good decision based on the actions you do afterwards, or you can make it a bad decision based on what you do afterwards as well. That part is up to you. So, case in point, the name of this podcast is now the Unlock Your Genius Zone podcast. And I have to be honest with you, I did not follow my own protocol of idea to income or quickly taking action. When I was renaming this podcast, I took 5 weeks to come up with that name. And after thinking of over 100 names for this podcast, I realized that any name is good if I can sell it afterwards, if I can follow through on what this idea means. So when you step in your genius zone, you are in a place where time disappears, where dopamine levels are elevated, where you can take action quickly and where wealth is a byproduct. So that is why this name is a good decision, because I'm able to make it that way afterwards. Now, I have to give credit to my mother-in-law for helping me get to that place. We went out for dinner the night that we chose this name. She helped me come to the conclusion that this is the name. And a couple nights later, we were doing dishes and I was telling her, I think this is the name. And she reminded me that it's only a good decision if I can sell it afterwards. So shout out to my wonderful mother-in-law. Let's look a little bit into what does making creative decisions on the spot really fast actually look like. So remember at the very beginning, I said we're going to look at this from the perspective of a professional cellist. Now, in my over 20 years of developing my cello career, I have experienced moments where I completely poured out my heart in the music, where I took creative risks on stage. I made fast musical decisions and I reaped the benefits. For instance, one year, I think it was 2017, I was playing at Nationals with my trio. And I remember the 45-minute performance, I completely drenched my blue silk gown. It was never the same after that because I was playing my entire heart out. I gave the piece justice. And was every note perfect? No. I missed a couple notes here and there. My intonation wasn't smack dab perfect every single note. But you know what? I played with abandon. I played with the sense that this is my last opportunity to play the cello in my entire life, and I'm gonna make it worth it. Now, I've also experienced performances where I hit every note perfectly. Every note was perfectly in the right place. The resonance was perfect. Remember, the word perfect is coming up here. And I remember coming to the end of that performance, running backstage and just sobbing because I didn't give the piece the creative justice it deserved. And I'm getting emotional thinking about this because when you put your heart out there, when you give an idea the creative justice it deserves, when you allow the inspired idea, the inspiration, think about it, spirit within, if you give that the honor and the time and the energy that it deserves, you will be fulfilled. That is the difference. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the most amazing thing ever created. It just has to be created from the heart, quickly, boldly. And that is when you're free. Okay, so now remember this analogy about this truck with steel on it. Imagine every single idea you have is a piece of steel. It is heavy, it is very dense, and it is weighing the truck down. Now imagine that truck is driving through very soft dirt. It gets stuck. Now imagine another truck coming over with a crane and it takes off these pieces of steel, takes them to the construction site, and it builds this beautiful skyscraper. The truck who used to carry the steel, which was not useful, it was weighing it down, is now free. The steel was out and is now being used for something beautiful, for something useful, for something that gives people a place to conduct business, to meet with other people, and create lasting memories and legacy. That's what your ideas are. Your ideas are worthless if you don't take action on them. That is the differentiator between just an idea and $1 million idea. Action. One word. Easy to say and a little bit hard to do. And that is why I created a brand new workshop just for you. It is called the Find Your $1 Million Idea Workshop. It is where you can find an idea, strategize it, map it out, make sure that it is connected to your grand vision, your mission, your gifting, your genius zone. Bring it to life in just 28 days. And this is without learning a single new skill. This is where we trust your technique, trust the skills you've already learned, and then bring it into action in just 28 days. Without needing to actually sit in a windowless office for months on end, creating something, launching it, and just experiencing crickets. Because remember, the person who has ideas but doesn't take action on them is no better than the person who does not have ideas. Now remember, the sixth thing that I learned about dopamine in the last 6 years is that you can actually raise it in just 90 seconds. So because of that, I will be using all of these strategies, implementing live cello music into this workshop by yours truly, and you will be able to experience one of the most creative blocks of time in your entire year. Amanda, a woman who was in the last workshop, she said, this was by far the most peaceful and productive block of time that I've experienced all month. This was right at the beginning of February, and she said the entire January had been stressed. She was dealing with fires. She was trying to wrangle all her ideas and really make sure that she was running her business like the CEO she wanted to be. And when she did the breathing excitement into her fear exercise, she felt calm. She felt like she could do the things that were most scary. And that is what I want for you as well. I want you to feel like you can soar, like you are free, like your ideas are going to create a legacy for you and your children, and that you can hop in the car at 2:30 p.m. to go pick up your kids knowing you had made a deep impact that day. So register for the workshop. The next one, as of the time of recording this video, is happening March 6th. So go sign up for the workshop. I will see you there. And if you're watching this after March 6th, just know I will be running this more than once. So just check out the link, see if the next date is open for registration. Otherwise, my door is always open. Put any questions you have about this concept of really biohacking your brain for creativity, for action, for finding $1 million ideas. Put your questions in the comments, or you can send me a DM on Instagram. Have a wonderful day.